All right, I'm sitting here with Velvet this morning, and we're up at her shop, Rocks and Things, up in Whitefish. And Velvet, welcome to the community again.
Thank you. Welcome to the store.
All right, we're going to have a little update discussion here about what's been going on with Velvet and what she's been seeing and what's been happening and everything. So we haven't talked since the grandmother conference way back when.
That was a while.
So why don't you give me some of your things that have happened, sort of like the Mayan calendar thing went past and all the things that have sort of been happening from your perspective that you've seen.
Well, we all lived through the end of the world. Yay! So that's a big deal. You know, I'm kind of glad it's over because I kind of got tired of hearing about the end of the world. To me, I think it's just a new beginning.
Yeah.
We watched another date come and go, and with it was all kinds of tension, and it feels like there were some people who were disappointed that that things didn't shift in the way that people wanted, but also I think I'm seeing little shifts still.
When I talked to a couple of people before concerning that, you know, what expectations were, some people were of the point that it was going to be a sudden shift. And other people are saying, no, it was the beginning of a long-term shift, a long-term more evolution of people. And I think that's indeed what it is and what it's going to be proven out to be. And the collective consciousness and all that stuff is going to be pretty heightened.
Yeah, I agree, and I think when we're looking at a 26,000-year cycle, things don't happen typically in one day.
Right.
And since the end of that calendar, I personally think another calendar has begun, and I've been watching. I kind of graphed out this new calendar, and I'm watching kind of the days and the nights, just like the old calendar, and I'm seeing shifts correlating to these nights and the days, and similar to the old calendar. And I think in 2011 we felt all that quickening, and then 2012 was kind of a little bit different energy, and now I feel this quickening energy again. People are kind of frenetic again, and so that's why I think it's really important that we find whatever it is that steadies us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was just up in West Glacier. I finished my second week of my Kundalini Yoga teacher certification training, and a big part of the reason I'm doing that is because it is a 10,000-year-old practice that I think has within it practices that help us shift through world change times. You know, so it's like an ancient practice that the people in the East use to move through world changes. And we're in a world change, and it's not an overnight world change. You know, I think 150 years are what some people are saying.
So let me ask you a question, Velvet, because of in talking with a number of other people in the community about different things and coming up with sort of common themes. Do you find yourself sort of in a counseling role sometimes?
Well, I think more than anything, I listen. I mean, I don't try to offer advice.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that a while ago, that it doesn't, that people have to find their own way. I just give them a rock to hold, a cup of tea, and I just listen. Because I think a lot of times people just need to talk about what's happening. And I think being able to have a safe place where people can be heard is kind of what this store is about.
And do you see more and more people coming to that conclusion? That they need to talk about, let's say, the gray area?
Yeah, and I think, and it's people, I'm noticing it in people in all walks of life. I'm getting a lot of men in here right now who are feeling rattled by things, and they're having these awarenesses that they maybe always had, but they tried to push away. I mean, they are having knowings and feelings that they've kind of tried to deny their whole life, and they can't deny it anymore.
Right. Okay. I understand that, you know, since the last time we met, a lot of things have happened, but you were down in the Tucson area for the show and stuff, for the Rock and Mineral Show down there, Gem and Mineral Show. And were there any things that were sort of interesting down there taking part, or
Well, I always, when I go down there, I always look to see what there is a lot of, because I think it's sort of a sign or a signal from the mineral kingdom what we're going to need in the next year or so. And so like this year I saw a ton of tourmaline, the black tourmaline, which is for protection.
Do you have any of that
Yeah.
here? Why don't we see what shows
So,
up?
like this is a piece of black tourmaline. Can you see it?
Yeah, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Okay.
So this is black tourmaline. There was a lot of pink tourmaline and green.
And what's the significance of the black tourmaline?
Well, it's a stone that helps you be in chaos and not let that get into your field.
Okay.
So when I opened the store, I carried it around with me for the first month or so because I was so sensitive to other people's energy. So if people are struggling, this is a stone that, well, it helps, it filters negativity so it doesn't come into your field
Oh, okay.
and absorbs it. So I saw a ton of this. That was one of the things that I saw. And then I saw a lot of, this has got, can you see that?
Let me get it more in focus for us. Okay, go ahead.
There was a lot of lepidolite down there. And lepidolite is...
Looks like it has a lot of silica or something
well,
in
it
it.
has mica in it,
Okay.
but it also has some green tourmaline and some pink tourmaline. There was a lot of lepidolite down there, and it is for stress and anxiety, depression. You know, it's a solid. It's got lithium in it, so it's good for depression. So I saw a lot of that. I wish I'd have bought more. I'm almost out of it already.
Well, do you have the supplier's name? Contact information?
I can get more. So here's a nice piece with some green tourmaline.
Hold on
in
a
it.
minute. Let me get us.
And green tourmaline is for the heart. So there was heart.
Okay.
Okay.
And what else did you see down there?
I saw a lot of, well, and then kyanite is another stone. Kyanite.
Wow, that's interesting. What's that one?
Kyanite helps you connect the inner and outer worlds. It helps you bridge your inner self with your outer self, so you're in resonance.
Mhm.
So you're not feeling one thing and showing another thing.
Do you carry books? Some books in here that sort of give a 101 on
Yeah,
the
I'm
mineral world too?
Yeah, I have the Book of Stones
Okay.
and the Crystal Bible. I'm all out of both of those right now. They're on order.
Gosh.
I know.
I hope she's got it by the time you guys come in here. All right, have a seat there.
So I just noticed that those stones there was a lot of those stones, and that's not a new stone, but a few years ago there was a crystal conference that I went to, and they had this quartz that they called azestulite. And azestulite is a quartz that holds the energy of the frequency towards which we're moving. Okay? The consciousness that we are moving. And that energy, according to the theory, will eventually imbue all of the quartz on the planet. And so now there is an amping up of that quartz. Its energy is changing even. It's becoming more, I think it's awakening to its true frequency that it's always held. It's just like being woke up, so to speak, just like we are.
Right.
And to hold that stone, it will help you awaken to your true self and to who you are.
Well, why did you gravitate towards minerals?
Well,
Rocks.
I think because I always had a hard time being grounded. And I could just pick up sandstone from the road that's been driven on and feel myself be pulled back into my body.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just been a tool for me. If I don't wear moccasins, I need rocks, I need something.
So minerals really have grounded you.
Yeah, and I'm just sensitive to them. They tell me things. We gotta get
Sounds like
me and rocks, we's homies.
It sounds like Finn Horn here with plants. So
Yeah.
okay. So let me ask you a couple of other questions. I was just talking the other day with somebody that was talking about John of God, and they were talking about the Casa, or the community that's where they reside down in Brazil, and they were talking about it being on a crystal bed and the significance of that. So could you sort of address what that potentially might mean? I mean, not that you know exactly, but you probably have a inkling of why the crystal bed to them is so effective.
Is it like the crystal bed that Anne has?
Yeah, but it's a bed of rocks that
Okay.
the village is on, sort of.
Well, I think because crystals hold a frequency, and so I was telling you about that Azeztulite and that crystal conference. Well, there was a woman there who these race of beings came to her, and they called themselves the Azez. And what they said is that they were beings that would come to a planet during the ascension process to help with the ascension of the planet and the beings on the planet. And what they said is they used crop circles, they used the geometries of crop circles to imbue the planet with these frequencies that help the ascension process.
Well, how does a crop circle help?
Because it's a geometry and it's a vibration.
Ah, okay.
And then what they told her is that on each planet there are three, they take the top three, I want to say, it's not minerals, top three, what's the word? Top three, well, on this planet, the thing that we have in most abundance are water, crystal, quartz, which is silicon dioxide, and calcite. And what they told her is that on this planet, when they used the crop circles, it would imbue the quartz, the calcite, and the water with these frequencies, and humans and the planet would be assisted in the ascension process through quartz, through calcite, and through water.
Okay.
Well, and I think in 2005 and 2007 there were two crop circles here in the valley, down by Majestic Arena.
Right.
And so this area has it's a lot of sandstone and quartz, but we're in a city of light that the center is Lolo Pass, and there's a 40 square mile area of smoky quartz.
Okay, it's around Lolo Pass?
Around Lolo Pass.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of these energies, that when they come into the planet, they tune the crystals. And so quartz and calcite, one of the scientific properties of quartz and calcite is that they're pyroelectric and piezoelectric. And so when you put pressure on them, like when you hold a quartz point and put pressure on it and put a prayer or an intention into it, that energy, that prayer, is transmitted through the quartz.
Okay.
So if John of God, where his healing place is, the quartz underneath is amplifying and transmitting the prayers.
If you had to hypothetically, and I don't know what the subterranean structure looks like, but if it's a quartz bed, is it potentially possible that quartz bed point sort of is near the surface?
Well, it could be, or it could be like a geode, all kinds of points.
Right.
Like that one back over there.
Uh-huh.
It could have hundreds of points. And so I think, aren't there a bunch of people who sit and pray?
Yes.
And so those prayers are being amplified by the quartz,
right,
as well as held in the quartz as
okay.
well.
I see.
And so that makes a lot of sense to me.
Right. Okay. I've been feeling stronger about what we talked about before. We talked about Finhorn, the possibility of something similar to that up here. Have you been hearing anything or feeling anything like that?
Well, I know here there's a lot of people that are coming together trying to create intentional communities. And Michael Pilarski
Yeah.
and Terry, I think they just got a place.
I heard it's up by Carroll Road
Yeah.
someplace. Yeah.
And Michael is, he teaches permaculture, And he also, this winter, taught a class on communicating with the Devic realm. So that's what they did in Findhorn, is they communicated with the nature spirits to support the growing of food.
Right, I heard that in the Findhorn, the initial aspects, there was a couple and then there was a lady. And the lady was the one that had the voices or the guides or whatever you want to call them, that would communicate with her and say, okay, plant this and plant enough for the insects and the animals and yourself. And then if they needed something to for the community, the voice would say, okay, there was an accident where so you could go get some concrete at this intersection, and blah, blah, blah. So, and then the Royal Botanical Garden Society came up and said, you cannot plant what you're planting here and grow. So there's a lot of stuff that's really unusual. So that was the realm that they were communicating into.
Yeah, well, and I think there's more and more of an urge within us to have our food grown locally.
Yep.
And whether we're supporting our local farmers or we're growing it ourselves, we are supported by the Devic realm. I have a couple of Canadians that come in here who are, they grow wheat and canola. And the men are the farmers, and the women, they go out every spring before the planting and they connect to the Devic realm and they ask permission and they're guided. And those people are getting higher yields than their neighbors. They're not getting burnt out by drought like their neighbors are. And so if wheat ranchers in Canada can do it, any of us who want to grow food can do it.